What's up, bro? How are you doing? In today's training, I just want to lay out how I went from being a nice guy to become an integrated man. Because long time ago, a few years ago now, I was a nice guy. I was the nice guy that had the nice car, then had a good job. I was looking after myself. I was going to the gym. On paper, I look great. On paper, I was a great partner. But the problem is, I was behaving as a nice guy. I was living life out of fear. I had limiting beliefs. I had fears. I had programs which I wasn't consciously aware of, but I knew something was there because every time I was entering a relationship, I was transforming into another person. I wasn't myself, and I wasn't myself because I had these limiting beliefs and fears that were triggering, and I was just behaving in order to survive the relationship. I was trying not to fuck it up. Instead of living the relationship fully like myself and with a lot of love, I was always walking on eggshell, always trying to be a people pleaser, to make her happy, to make sure she has everything she needed. I was always performing, even in bed. I was always trying to give her so I could earn her love, so I could not be abandoned, not be rejected, and I could just be enough and feel enough because I was always looking for that external validation. Now, I found out years later that that behavior is called nice guy syndrome. And when I found out about it, I was like, oh my God, we need to change this. And so I started working on it. I did a lot of courses and, I've done my whole journey. I started by reading books, by watching podcasts and all those stuff. But I was finally able to get rid of the nice guy syndrome when I decided to take things seriously and doing the inner work. That's what really changed for me. And so I want to lay out like how I did it and how you can do it as well. The nice guy syndrome. I would like to start by talking about it. I created a little presentation that I am going to share with you. Whip, whip, whip. I'm gonna share the screen. How do you do it? There you go. So, the nice guy syndrome. The nice guy syndrome is nothing else but a set of behaviors that men adopt in early stages of life in order to survive. It is a coping mechanism. You are running away from the feeling of not being good enough, from the belief that you need to earn love, and the fear of being rejected and abandoned when entering a relationship. You are acting as a nice guy, and the nice guy is just an identity that you build to protect yourself from getting these limiting beliefs and these fears triggered. There have been events that generated wounds that gave life to the beliefs, fears, and hidden programs that are running your life. Because what creates your reality is the way you think, it's your mind. And your mind thinks in a certain way because you have in the unconscious part of your mind, you have core beliefs, you have programs, and you have wounds that makes you behave the way you behave because you believe that the world works in a certain way, so you behave in a way that takes you to the goals that you want to achieve. The problem is that the nice guy doesn't have these beliefs and these programs on the right radar. Your radar is off. And so you build this image of yourself, this identity for yourself, thinking that it would take you to having a greater relationship, but you fell short because every time you enter a relationship, you become a people pleaser. She always end up leaving you. She says that you are not giving her what she wants. She always say, "You are such a great guy, but for someone else." That is the thing that the nice guy hear the most. And so, what are the behaviors that the nice guy adopts? We already talked about the people pleasing and struggle to set boundaries. You become a people pleaser because you want to make sure that she is happy, so she's not going to trigger the fear of rejection and abandonment. Because if she's happy, why would she leave? If you give her everything she needs, if you never set boundaries, because when you set a boundary, you're setting a standard. And when someone doesn't meet that standard, they're either gone or you need to create a conflict. And I wrote down here, the nice guy wants to avoid conflict because conflict brings uncertainty and can create rejection, can create abandonment. Because if the other person decide that doesn't want to stand up to your standard, they're gone. You struggle to express emotions and to speak up for yourself, speak up your mind. And why? For the same reason. You don't want to create conflict because conflict doesn't feel safe. It puts you in a situation where you may need to have an argument and you don't want to speak up for yourself because you don't want to create that tension. You are a shape shifter. Why? Because you want to make sure that other people are happy with who you are. And so you try everything to be who you think they want you to be instead of being your real and authentic self and attract people in your life that are aligned with who you are. You self sacrifice and do not prioritize yourself, or at least the nice guy does. And why does he do that? Because he thinks that first, prioritizing himself and is going to make him look like he's selfish, and he doesn't want to look like a selfish person. The nice guy wants to make sure that everyone is happy, and he thinks that if he self-sacrifice, people are going to notice what a great person he is. He's always there for everyone, and so they should be there for him. Because that's another problem with the nice guy. The nice guy always, because he's not able to speak up for himself, but he has needs and wants, what does his mind do? He tries and he gives so hard, hoping to receive the same. He gives to get. But when you do that and you don't get what you give, you build resentment, even though the resentment isn't justified. It's justified just by your point of view on the world. But other people don't know you're building this resentment because they think that you give out of love. Instead, what you're really doing and how you're really living is out of fear, out of that fear of rejection, of abandonment, the fear of not being good enough, and the need to earn love because that's what you think is love. And so we got here to avoid conflict. You try to avoid conflict because, of course, you don't want to rock the boat. You want a smooth sailing. The nice guy learned early that his natural masculine energy, his strength, assertiveness, sexuality, leadership could trigger rejection, conflict, or disapproval. To stay safe and earn love, he pushes these traits into the shadow, replacing them with compliance, niceness, passivity. While this kept him accepted, it also disconnected him from his authentic power and left him struggling in relationships. The nice guy hides his masculine traits for this reason because he doesn't want to be called toxic. He doesn't want to rock the boat because when you stand up for yourself, when a man stand up for injustice, he's going to create a conflict. And injustice is not just social injustice, it's injustice for yourself. But if you never prioritize yourself, you're never going to create these kind of situations. And so these are the most common behaviors that the nice guy have. Now, there are more behaviors, and you may not have all of them, but still, if you have two or more of these behaviors, there is a big probability that you are a nice guy. And if you are one, you know it already. Now, I told you that in this video, I was going to lay out how I went from nice guy to an integrated man. And this is exactly how I did it. 4 steps. These are the 4 steps that I took. The first one was getting clarity, become aware of what my programs, fears, limiting beliefs were. If you do not know what you need to work on, you will not be able to do the work that you need to do. If you don't know what you are fearful of, if you don't know what your beliefs are, how are you gonna change them? Now, you can start asking yourself these questions. When thinking about love, what are my beliefs? When thinking about dating, what are my beliefs? when thinking about X? What are my beliefs? This way, you are going to find what you really, really believe inside yourself. You can do this exercise over and over and over, and you're always going to find different things. Now, the more you do it and you deeper you get, the closer you get to the root cause of your problems, because that's what you want to be hitting. You want to get to the core of the problem, to what caused the problem in the first place. So, clarity is the first, and awareness is the first step that you need to take. Once you've got the clarity piece sorted out, you want to start to do the inner work. Now, here is the tricky part. Most men know that they have a problem with setting boundaries. And so what do? They start and they start to set boundaries. You may know how to set boundaries, okay? But the point is, when you have to set it, your nervous system, your limiting beliefs, your fears kick in because you're doing something that you're not comfortable at. And so what happened? You chicken away and you just go back to square one. You go back to not setting boundaries because that feels scary. And why does that happen? That happened because you haven't done the inner work. You haven't cleared the wounds. You haven't healed the wounds. You haven't integrated all that trauma that is in your life, because healing is the second step after clarity that you need to take. Usually people go from I have a problem to let's go to the solution, but they skip the inner work, and the inner work is the reason why you keep failing over and over and over. If you have a problem in your relationship and you can't fix it, and you break up, you fell apart, and you get into the next relationship without doing the work that you need to do on yourself, you will bring the same exact problems in the new relationship. And your new relationship is gonna get the same patterns that happened to the old one, and to the one before, and to the one before that one. So, in order to change your beliefs, in order to change your problems, you need to heal the root cause of the problem. Stop fixing the symptoms, start healing the root cause. That's how you can literally change the game. You need to change what drives you to behave in a certain way. If you can get rid and integrate of that fear and accept that fear, and that and change the beliefs that you are actually good enough. You do not need to earn love, because when you show up for the person that you are without needing to perform all the time, people are going to love you for who you are. And if they don't, that's okay as well. Not everyone can stay with you. Some people has to go, but the right people will stay with you, and you will attract a partner that is actually in love with who you are, and you will not need to pretend to be this nice guy. I also know that most nice guys are great men inside. They are not mean, they are kind, but they get played and they become this nice guy because they just want to be kind. But being kind doesn't mean being used by other people. It means being able to do things for other people with love without sacrificing yourself, without prioritizing everyone else but yourself, without becoming a people pleaser, because people can read, can feel the energy that you're using when you are a people pleaser. They know that you're people pleasing them for a reason. And the reason is to be loved, to be liked, to seek that approval. So inner work is definitely the second step after clarity, because you know what you need to work on, and you need to heal the wounds that causes all those programs, limiting beliefs, and fears. Everything else comes after. Once you've done this work, you go into taking action, confidence in action, the outer work. This is when you can start to learn how to set boundaries, because learning how to set boundaries isn't that difficult. You start small, you start saying no to small things, and then slowly, slowly, you gain confidence in doing so, and you gain traction, you gain momentum, and you go a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, and then you get hit, you fell back, and then you stand up again, and you restart from where you were. But you can do it with confidence just if you leave the wounds behind, just if you release the brakes. and you heal those wounds, you clear them out, you integrate them, and you bring them with you, with the teachings that you should have got in the first place. You can start to communicate in a better way, dating, looking after yourself, having a social life, but having a social life where you don't need to say yes to friends that wants to go out and drink if you don't want. You don't need to go where you don't want to go. You can actually be okay with being by yourself at first and attract the friends that you really want to have in your life. Once you've done the clarity process, you've done the inner work and the confidence in action, aka the outer work. That's when you start to see the shift, because you start to integrate the whole part of yourself, the good side and the bad side. You accept and you integrate everything that you are, and you just show up for who you are. And at times it's going to be difficult. At times your programs are going to challenge you. Your old programs are going to challenge you. They are going to come up, and that little voice in your head is going to say, this is not how you do it. You can talk to that girl, blah blah blah. Whatever your voice always tells you, it's going to try to insinuate into your new persona, into who you really are, because you've been running on the nice guy for so long that it became this identity that you created for yourself. So when you're going to start to say no to people, when you're going to start to prioritize yourself, you're always going to have the voice at the beginning that say, oh, you're being selfish. But that's you. You need to tell that voice, shut up. I'm not being selfish. I'm actually loving myself first, and then I can love others. How can you give to others authentically if your cup is empty? You cannot do that. It is extremely difficult, if not impossible, to give when your cup is empty. And if you give to get. But when you give to get and you don't receive what you give, you build resentment. And that's the trap of the nice guy. And that's a downward spiral that you do not want to keep feeding. So this is the fourth and last step: integration, having all the side of yourself coming together and becoming the man that you're always supposed to be. But because you had limiting beliefs, because you had fears, and because of your programs and because of your wounds, you never been. So if you want to become this man, I actually created a guide that you can download for free down below in the description of this video. And that's the 10 principle of the nice guy. Those are 10 guidelines that you can follow, where you can see how the nice guy behave. Now, I hope this video has been useful to you, and I'll see you in the next one.